What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to move through our final lesson on measuring the 5 properties that we've been studying so far. Um, you guys have already done distance and volume, and today I'm going to cram the last 3, mass, time, and temperature, into this final video. The reason why I waited and did them all at once is because they're much simpler and much uh, easier to do. It's easy to measure things with these last 3. So let me jump right in and explain how to do this. Okay, so we already know that mass is how much matter is in an object. Okay, that's how much stuff is in an object. But we never answered what is matter. And so I'm asking you to write this down. Matter is is physical substances in general. So anything that takes up space in the universe, right? So a rock is made of matter. It has stuff in it, right? An iPhone is made of stuff. Even the air you breathe there's stuff to it, right? Even though you can't see it, you can feel it if you wave your hand back and forth. You can feel the air go into your lungs when you take a deep breath. And so matter is basically the physical stuff of the universe. It's not like non-physical or spiritual things. It's not love. It's not emotions or idea or love, hate, feelings like that. Matter is just the physical stuff of the universe. And so mass is a word that describes how much matter is in an object, right? So every object has a different amount of matter, and we have a way to measure that. You already know that mass is measured in grams, and to measure it, we use a gram balance. You can see this old school one here on your screen. It looks kind of like a scale, right? You've got an iPhone, or not an iPhone, what is that? A Nokia, an old school phone. And you move these weights around at the top to see if you can get the arm to balance exactly on 0, right? If you have the weights too far over, then the arm will go below 0. And if you have the weights too far over the other way, the arm will lift up and be above 0. So it's a balancing game. And this is one way that you can measure the amount of mass in an object. And the other way is to use a digital scale, also called a gram balance. It's a digital gram balance. And if you wanted to know how much mass was in your iPhone, you just put your iPhone right on the scale, and then right in this display, it'll say something like 300 grams or something like that. I'm kind of a coffee snob, and every morning I weigh out 70.9 grams of coffee, and then I grind it up and I pour hot water over it to get the coffee. You guys see me every morning when I come in. I've got my little coffee mug. I just made all that coffee at home right before I come to work, and I figured out that 70.9 grams is a good starting point for 5 cups of coffee. So I do use this in my daily life, figuring out how much mass is in an object. All right, so that's mass. We use a gram balance. What do you use? A gram balance. That's what it's called. Let's move on to time. Oh, look at you guys. Anybody notice an error on my little PowerPoint here? It says mass at the top, but it should say time. You all know that time is measured in seconds, and there's really only one way to measure time. You either count the seconds on a clock or use the stopwatch on your phone. You just need a way of noting how much time has passed since the beginning of something you're trying to measure and the end. If I was going to pull out my stopwatch right here on my phone, it looks like this. And if I wanted to figure out how long it would take me to finish this sentence, I press start, and you can see the time is moving, and then my sentence is now over. Boom, that took me 6 seconds and 48 1/100ths of a second. So that's it. That's how you measure time. Now, in class or when I'm done with this video, I'm going to have you test out measuring the length of time it takes to do certain things. Maybe throw an airplane, how long you can get an airplane to fly through the room, by the time it leaves your hand versus when it stops moving. Or we can really come up with a lot of different activities to measure time. So we're going to practice doing that. But lastly, I'm going to teach you about temperature. And temperature is measured in Celsius. And Celsius is awesome. There's a couple things that I really like about using Celsius. One, at 0, that is the point where water freezes. So right now this thermometer is telling me it's about 25 degrees Celsius. If that was going to drop down to 0, water would freeze at 0. Now usually, does anybody know what water freezes at in our regular lives in America in Fahrenheit? It's 32. If you walk into school and it's kind of raining, if the temperature drops below 32, it'll start to freeze and become snow. But in Celsius, the freezing point where water freezes is 0, and the boiling point where water boils is 100. And that's just a great way to measure how warm or cold something is. And so in our class, when we practice this, I'm going to have you measure the temperature of 3 different, what do you call those? I'll just say cups of water. You're going to have a colder one, a regular temperature one, and then a pretty hot one. And so all you do is you stick the thermometer in the water, you wait for it to, adjust, and then you write down where the red line stopped, right? We're at about 25 right there. So to sum up, mass is measured in grams. We use a gram balance. Time is measured in seconds, and we use a stopwatch or a clock or something on your phone, stopwatch, clock, etc. And then temperature is measured in Celsius, and we use a thermometer. That's basically it, my friends. If you're done with your notes, ask Mr. Murchie or Mr. Phillips for the next steps, and we'll get this lesson wrapped up. Super proud of all of you. Thanks for tuning in, and that was my video on mass, time, and temperature.